Welcome to the Business Unusual podcast. Today I'm joined by Luc-Olivier Marquet, who's the Vice President for Unilever. Is it South Africa or Africa?
He's CEO of South African, Southern Africa.
Southern Africa. So it's pretty exciting to speak to you today. And I think it's really intriguing sort of what the organization's doing and sort of also as an individual, you're quite inspiring. All the countries you've worked in and visited, I'm already envious, and we haven't even got started. So I don't know where you want to kick it off, but we've obviously, you know, with all the excitement in your life and the risks you've taken, we're in a situation right now where the world's sort of been turned upside down, and there is no normal anymore. And I suppose the first question is, how's it going for you?
Well, first, Ralf, thank you very much for having me today. It's a great pleasure to exchange with all of you. And it's been really tough times, and I'm sure for everyone. I consider that personally, but as well for Unilever, we are part of the fortunate one in the sense that in all these times, being working for essential goods, we've been able to continue to operate. I'm not going to say as normal, because obviously we had to take some drastic decision and safety issues, safety consideration in our business. But we've been able to operate, and the business continues to grow. So we've been very fortunate. But and on a personal note, it's been really not easy, because on March 17, Unilever worldwide, we sent all the employees, and I've been really amazed by the level of resilience of everyone. We quickly adapted and working on Teams, and everyone with a laptop, and meetings from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And at some points, I remember after 3 weeks where we decided to lock in the calendars of everyone a lunchtime. So even now, we still have, from 12 to 1, a lunch break to make sure that employees have the time to spend with their kids, with their partners, prepare meals. So really, it's been challenging time, but quite an experience. And Ralf, as you said, I've been very fortunate in my life to work in many parts of the world, and mainly D&E markets, and we know all the time this volatile environment in this market, and I believe that my past experience is helping me in these current circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, I looked at that sort of the countries you've been to, so Puerto Rico and Philippines, and I'm like, wow, this guy. The places that you've worked in, it's like amazing. It's my dream destinations to work. As being a surfer, my son's a surfer, my brother's a surfer, and so we were asking you earlier, are you a surfer? Because I'm like, is that a coincidence, or like there's some of the best surfing places in the world, and you're working there?
Yeah, it's completely a coincidence, but the fact is, when I started working actually in 1991 in Mexico, and that's where I started surfing. And I remember these, you work hard during the week, then you take your car and you drive 10, 12 hours, and you end up spending a weekend you arrive early Saturday morning, go surfing, and sleep in hammocks, and just like fishing and grilling your fish on the beach. So it was really amazing weekend. So, but let me be very clear. It's that was in 1991, and today in 2020, I'm still a beginner surfer. Long borders and so on. But I've been fortunate to go to Cloud9, so to Siargao Island in the Philippines, but today, my favorite destination remains San Francisco Bay, where I have a place to spend my holidays, and surfing in Ulet, which is really an easy waves is really nice, and fortunate to live in Durban as well. Not like you in Cape Town where it's freezing and you have much more sharks than us probably, or we have the net. So
I'm coming to visit you. I'm coming to visit you soon. We're normally up there for the Durban Pro, the old Mr. Price, the Billabong.
Yeah.
But it's almost like going on holiday, going to Durban from Cape Town, because it's so warm and it's amazing up there. But you're right. I mean, St. Francis is world class, right? But it got me thinking, because if I look at the business as a whole, and I look at you as a person in terms of taking big risks, going to destinations that you are fairly unknown, almost that journey, and I look at where you're looking at going in terms of the sustainability, the conscious leader, and I can't help but think how much surfing has impacted certainly me in my thinking of that sustainability, because you're in nature, you love it, you see it. Do you think it impacts you not just, and I get that sense that sometimes people talk in corporate about sustainability, but I think if you're a surfer, there's something about it that you feel it, you see it, you touch it, and you just have a chance as an executive to make an impact as opposed to talk about it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But you know, it can happen in many sports. Obviously I love surfing, and when sometimes surfing in Ghana, and you cannot even imagine like what it is surfing, and you do a stroke and then you see all these plastic bags all around you. It's an absolute disaster. And or looking at the Philippines and seeing so many sachets in the environment. I dive as well, and diving and seeing some cans of, I will not mention any brands, but you know, in the ocean. I absolutely am passionate about snow skiing and going in the mountain and seeing all sometimes these trash all around. So obviously it makes you very cautious about the environment, and I'm actually very fortunate working for a company for which this sustainability is so important, and it's really at the heart of everything we do, and that sense of purpose is embedded in every employee. So I think it is great as a surfer, as a human who loves nature, that a company gives you that opportunity to live your purpose every day, and in which on top of helping the community, but really supporting the agenda of protecting the environment is so important. So all that is linked together. Honestly, it's that's why you, when you are so passionate, as you said, you take risks every day. By small step, you try to create an impact for the society you live in, for the environment, for the micro entrepreneurs, for agriculture. That is it's so critical, so critical.
So I mean, we were speaking beforehand, and we were talking around your journey and these different opportunities that presented themselves, and sort of a lot of people are very comfortable where they're at in life. It normally takes something in someone unique to sort of go outside their comfort zone and go into these different markets and take on these different opportunities. What do you think that was driving you?
It's a mix of ambition. It's a mix of enjoying being a risk taker. It's a choice in life, a choice of lifestyle. You know, being an expat, and it's been what, 20 years now that I've been living outside of my own country, if I consider that France is my own country, because it's been so long that out of 29 years of professional careers, I worked only 5 years or even 4 years in France. The rest has been abroad, and 20 years in a row abroad. So it's not necessarily an easy one. You don't always choose the country where you're going to be living in. They offer you the opportunity. I remember, you know, when my previous company, L'Oréal, offered me to go in the Philippines. It's a country where I've been, I think was maybe 10 years before. And it's a country where I proposed my ex-wife. And I remember landing in Manila, and I was a bit shocked by the traffic, the noise, the pollution. And I remember I told her at that time, it's at least that's a country where we will never go and live in. And so you can imagine, and that's part of the risk when they offer me the job to take over to be the head of the L'Oréal business for the Philippines. Is like, wow, you question a lot. Do we take that risk? Do we want it? And at the end, it happened to be a great opportunity, very fast growing, developing countries, great economy, and we absolutely loved it, loved the people. I'm passionate about people, and Filipinos are so nice, welcoming. It's been a great positive challenge, and as you said, beautiful experience over the weekend where honestly it's amongst the most beautiful beach you can find in the world, and so we really loved it, and thanks to that experience as well, that's where from L'Oréal now I moved at that time for Unilever as the head of West Africa, and was a great experience, and it's I must say I'm completely in my sweet spot, and again it's part of the risk that you take when you can be in your comfort zone, but there was one continent where I've never been before, was Africa, or at least I've been to Morocco, but never in Africa, and Unilever offers you to be the head of West Africa region, and being based in Ghana or Abidjan, I decided to be in Ghana. But it's like, it's part of the big question mark that you have in your life, and the big risk that you take. And I really, been, I think, rewarded in a way by taking that risk and now taking over South Africa and now the Southern Africa region, and discovering a country which is honestly, it's in my favorite country in the world, certainly South Africa, for the beautiful diversity, people extremely welcoming, the sceneries in that country. We live in like 3-4 different countries. It's love going to the Drakensberg, love going in the garden routes, love being in a game reserve in the bush. And we are very, very fortunate, and sometimes we forget
Not
about
Cape Town.
I love Cape Town. I must admit I'm a bit, but after the French wine is no doubt from the New World, the South African wine is really the best in the world, without any doubt.
Really? Okay.
Well, I really think so. Yeah.
I think I look at what you've achieved, and I think that in a English first language person to go to those different countries, but English wasn't your first language. And so I think there's a lot of examples of Europeans or Americans going to different territories. But so you've gone to different territories, you've learned these different cultures. What have you learned from this? Because this is amazing, really. It's like,
yeah, it's funny because actually, so obviously I learn English at school, but if you don't really practice it deeply, and so I had the opportunity during my studies to do an internship, and I went to Singapore, and I worked in a bank in a dealing room, and really immersing myself and making sure you speak English. Although the English in Singapore is a bit weird sometimes with the okela, and but really, and that's where I learned English. And then when I finished my university or my BA, I wanted to speak Spanish. I wanted to speak at least 3 languages before looking for a job, and that's when I decided to go to Mexico to learn Spanish. And so I'm really fluent in Spanish, having worked so many years in a Spanish-speaking country, including Miami, which is more Spanish than English.
Yeah.
And so that's again, it's part of what you were mentioning, taking some risk. More importantly for me is when I looked at so many people around me where they do have the sorts of same job every day for their entire life. The experience that I had is on top of having your job, whatever you do, is moving from one country to the other, you have to adapt yourself. You cannot impose your culture, you cannot impose your management style. You have to adapt. You have to learn the local culture, you have to learn the local language eventually. You have to adapt your management style to the local culture. If you go to Philippines, you know, they have so much respect for the boss that they will never say, no, you are wrong. And I need to nurture myself from the local insight, from the people. It's my employees who know much more than me. And I need to understand, to listen to them, to read between lines, to read their face, to understand if eventually they have a disagreement, but they don't dare to say it. And you have to create and to give them the safe space to express themselves without being scared of calling out the boss and saying, no, I think you're wrong. And I think it's very important. If not, you drive a business and you are blind. And it's been, I think, part of my learning journey and adapting myself to the different different culture, to reading the people, to create a safe space, safe environment where people can express themselves. And honestly, it's more recently with the dramatic event in the US, the George Floyd and the hashtag Black Lives Matters. I realized even more within Unilever South Africa, but I'm sure it's the case in many other companies, the importance to create that safe space for Black employees to express themselves, to express their frustration, to express their discomfort, and was quite an eye-opener the last 2 weeks for me. I believe as a leader the adaptability is very, very important.
So I read recently that initially it used to be that IQ was the biggest determinant of success, and then it was EQ. And what they've actually found is that AQ, the adaptability of a leader, is the biggest predictor of a leader's success. And it's so funny that you mentioned it as what you've learned about yourself, but the evidence is demonstrated in great leaders around the world that and sort of that journey of yours also demonstrates it, right? But also I
think we should add humility, because you give me a great honor to say, you know, because I mentioned adaptability, I'm amongst the great leaders of the world, which I don't think I am, but I think it's so true. Adaptability is essential. Again, when working in Ghana, it's completely different than working in South Africa and Mexico. And if you don't adapt to that environment, if you don't adapt to the local culture, you cannot be successful.
But I think, is that not what the crisis is showing us, and Black Lives Matter? It's that we need to adapt and change because things have moved, things have changed, and we as leaders need to adapt and change with that as well. Are you seeing that as an opportunity? Is that a threat? How do you see these challenges that come at you?
It's clearly an opportunity, and at the same time, the big difference is the speed of adaptability. You know, before the COVID-19 situation, we're always mentioning the pace of change, which will never have been as slow as today or as fast as today, and is increasingly faster. But what the current situation and the hashtag the Black Lives Matter is showing us that there is no more time. There is no more time for change. There is an absolute sense of urgency for all to act, and exactly the same way, or it's completely different, obviously, don't get me wrong, but the situation in the COVID-19 forced us to adapt completely and very fast to the situation. And I'm obviously, what's going to come with the pandemic situation is a deep economical crisis, who's going to last for quite a couple of years, certainly, and it will take a long time to recover, because we need to be clear. You know, it's so many governments everywhere have been doing blank check to support the various industries and companies, but I mean, citizens will have to pay for it, and our generation will have to pay for it. So the need to adapt as well, in our case, our portfolio to the consumer needs and to the consumer circumstances, and the fact that they're going to be even more cash strapped than before. And there is no more time for that. So the speed of adaptability has never been as important and as fast.
Yeah, I think that digital disruption was being talked about for a couple of years, but most of South Africa had to change in sort of 2 or 3 months. So, and I mean, often the question I ask is, what I certainly saw in our organization was evidence what is possible in terms of productive change, people coming together and doing things in a new way. And are you seeing that the same thing? Are you seeing a new view in terms of what's possible? I mean, are you I mean, are your team worried, I suppose, that you now have a clear view of what is possible to change, and so you're
I don't see, I'm not sure they are worried. What is clear is the situation is or was an eye opener on the possibility, on the fact that having these agile sorts of work space, and agile on all aspects. Agile doesn't mean only working from home. Is the agile way of working, is the flex resources, being able to allocate one resource for 2 weeks or 3 months from one project, and then you move it to another one. The fact that employees showed an amazing level of resilience and adaptability to work from home and work very efficiently. You take e-commerce, for example. There is some statistic which is showing that the last 3 months we moved the e-com business, which was planned explosion in only 3 months. So again, there is from everywhere an amazing level of disruption. The way consumer consumes, the cooking for home, which obviously we are a significant player in that space, has changed very significantly. You could see all these families and learning how to cook together, the bonding that you can have. It shows that we can have a different ways of working, and certainly the world of tomorrow will never be the same. And our ways of working tomorrow will never be as it was before. First, you know, the time where you have to be at the office from Monday 8 a.m. to Friday 5 p.m. or 4 p.m., whatever, it's over. And you probably we're going to work, 3 days from the office, 2 days from home. Then you can work from remote locations easily. And I think it's going to be really shaking as well the telecom industry, because in order to do that, it's clear that, and to make it largely available to all South Africans, we really need to see the cost of data going down and the improvement on the bandwidth and so on. So I think it's a great disruptor, but it's a great opportunity, and we should not be scared by that. That's the industrial revolution that is happening, and we need to live with it. And our job, obviously, with the acceleration of machine learning and so on, our job will be different tomorrow, because it will be much less, clerk data entry, more analytical, and we need to adapt. And people like me, if I don't learn every day or every week, I become completely irrelevant tomorrow. And I think it's true for me, but it's true for everyone. And it shows that we should not be thinking in our comfort zone. The comfort zone doesn't exist.
So true. So we've been doing the future of HR for about 5 or 6 years now. And last year you won Big Company of the Year, Best Employer of the Year at our Future of HR. And just before this, you put in submissions for 3 different categories. And I was reading the submissions and the tech that you're using for recruitment, for training, for wellness, for happiness. I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know what to ask you, because you are like really nailing it. like as an organization, you're really nailing it. And the only thing I could think of was that the quality of the learning and development of your people, and it seems to be very clear where your success is coming from. But I see that as something that could be rolled out to possibly your customers or to other organizations. Have you thought about that as a, I mean, talk about disrupting yourself, but I mean, I look at some of the things you're doing and how relevant they are. Is that something that you think you could share or get people to subscribe to?
Well, you know, Ralf, first, you're talking about the recruitment tools, and I think it's important to mention, and I'm always, I'm very much in favor to it, but as well, I'm a bit conscious of making sure we don't miss the good balance between what we were mentioning earlier, the IQ and the EQ, or at the end of the day, the AQ. And, you know, the personality of each individual, independently of the university they've been in, the quality of what they can send in the recruitment tool is very important. So we need to make sure that we have that balance. But at the same time, and you are talking about sharing best practices, you know, we have key partners in the industries, and you can take companies like Barrows, like Smollen, for example. We have 4,500 merchandisers who are working for us in the stores and exclusively for Unilever doing merchandising. And how do you use technology to give a better service to the consumers and to the retailers, where we have the data every day of the sellout store per store, and when we can see at a point where we can see in one store some out of stock, and we can reallocate resources, move them immediately. So that's the sorts of initiative. But it gives as well a lot of opportunities for local companies as well to work with us, because, you know, we don't always take things from global and put it local. We have a lots of local development. We created, in the spirit of improving our BE rating, but we created 80 million rands supplier development funds. And we've been working with a company called Isasi, for example, in terms of, they have a tool called Hudson in terms of machine learning and helping us to do predictive forecasting. And when you take the numbers of man hours lost, we talked about 1,000 man hours every month working on forecast. What a machine learning can do is much more accurate job of predicting forecasting. And these man hours can be used on a much more productive way, with much more value-added jobs, getting closer to the consumers' understanding. So again, we are part of an ecosystem, and we are happy to share, not necessarily with our competitors, but at least but with many partners. You know, it's how do we do? And again, it's not always, actually Unilever South Africa is one of the most advanced in that tool of machine learning, who can give us the stock optimization that we need to produce, who can help us to manage better the cash flow of the company. It has been a local development, and we are one of the most advanced Unilever subsidiary in the world. So again, it's maybe helping others, but as well helping even the job that we are doing in South Africa, helping other companies, other Unilever subsidiaries across the globe. And you know, I think one aspect, and we were talking about the personality, the individual. One fundamental aspect that I think is keeping an amazing level of curiosity in everything we do, and that sense of curiosity, it's so critical. And I brought we went the entire South Africa leadership team a couple of years ago in my favorite city in the world, which is called Cape Town. And,
yes.
We went in Woodstock to immerse ourselves in that sort of tech environment, discovering some new companies, and it's mind-blowing what is happening there. It's mind-blowing, the numbers of amazing companies. for them that we discovered in Woodstock was Hey Jude. So I don't know if you know that app. It's a concierge system, and you know when the founder of Hey Jude was presenting that, I remember in my mind I was like, you know, we always talk about work-life balance, but a way to improve the work-life balance, if you want your employees to work more, be more efficient at work, solve their issues at home. And it's an app where you can send a voice message or a text message, and one example, and you tell them, you know what, it's my 5 years old daughter's birthday. Please organize the birthday party for me at home. I want the theme to be Cinderella. I want a clown. I want this. That is my budget, and they organize everything for you. It's absolutely amazing. So we work with them, we treat them, and we have our 3,000 employees where they can be using our 1,300 employees have access. I think don't quote me on the numbers, but at least it's 1,300. But basically, you know, the employees, they can use that and to help organize. They can organize any trip, flight, whatever, holidays for you, any book some restaurants for you, and so on. So I think it's, again, going back to that sense of curiosity, that's where when you discover some technologies, you discover new companies. We have a Unilever South Africa foundry, and it's on that foundry that we discover Isazi and that amazing Hudson tool. So yeah, it's great.
So I mean, one of the things that I suppose traveling around the world and your journey, but I mean, we spoke earlier a little bit, and it doesn't surprise me at all. But you know, you don't put it down to necessarily going to the best school or having the best education. You put it down to good old-fashioned hard work. And you know,
is that old-fashioned, the hard work?
Well, I think that some people don't realize that success comes with going through many obstacles and challenges and heartache, but at the end of the day, it's pushing through and working your butt off. And I think that you know, certainly from my side, you can be lucky and win the lottery, but most people are successful because they work harder than other people. Is that sort of, how do you find that principle, hard work and working hard to success?
It's you know, Ralf, it resonates a lot with me, honestly, and that's sometimes a bit my concern, and that's certainly going to be my concern for my kids. You know, I have a 17 years old son and a 15 years old daughter, who, by the way, they are really citizens of the world, from French parents but never lived in France. One is born in Miami, the other one born in Puerto Rico, lived already in 6 different countries. But it's true that when I see them and the approach to the working environment, but as well from the millennials or more the Z generation, it feels a bit like, you know, the quick gain, the quick win, and the quick success. And I'm probably a bit old-fashioned in that, in the sense that I have difficulties to envision that. Some are successful in posting some nice videos and on YouTube and being influencers and so on, or TikTok here now, and making lots of money. But you know, it's, for me, it's exactly like being the Lionel Messi or the Michael Jordan or whoever it is, and
Kelly Slater,
and who, you know, you look at his life, and who is, by the way, it's one of our endorsers for Dove Men Plus Care. It's there is a very, very hard work behind it, and it's given to only like the very happy few. How many football players have been trying to make their life out of it and haven't been successful? And you have an injury, you have at the end of the day not part of the top leagues, and you don't make your life, or not enough to live until you're 90, 95 years left, and that is, for me, that's yeah, it's not easy. I think it's going to be part of the challenge for the generations to come, and part of my worries. So again, yeah, it resonates to me. It's nothing, very, very lucky to be successful and earn enough money to support their family for the rest of their lives. But for the many others, it has to come with hard work.
For sure. And I mean, in your journey, what do you found are the other principles that have made you successful, and the people and the team around you? What do you think are the sort of those principles that for a young person they can learn from?
So first, again, curiosity is for me fundamental. Adaptability is fundamental, but proximity to your team, being a great leader. For me, what is fundamental is to be surrounded by people who are much better than you. And I think it's critical. The trust. I'm blessed with my leadership team. Every single individual is a specialist in their field. They are much better than me, and working collaboratively. The collaborations, people better than you. If you have that mindset, instead of thinking that if you pick that person who seems so amazing that it will overshadow you, then you are completely wrong. We need to. So just surround yourself with the best people, and you're going to be successful.
Yeah, no, I quite agree with you. So I started doing triathlons. I was a bit of a desk jockey, and I started doing triathlons, and I got myself a good coach. And so in a way, it's my analogy, but he gave me very clear guidelines to follow, a training pattern to do these triathlons. And I ended up doing really well. And I went to SA Champs and won it, and I went to Worlds and I came fifth. But it's the same analogy, right? It's like if you get a good coach to help you, then you're going to perform better. And it's having someone on your team who's an expert on what he's doing.
Correct, yeah. But I think it's part of to that. As a leader, you need to be a coach, and you need to embark the team. I think it's part, and I should have mentioned that earlier, but it's really so critical as part of the success.
Yeah.
It's when it's becoming hard, and you take these current circumstances of the COVID. If you've been a very tough leader, you are not a charismatic one, and the people are not ready to run for you or for the company, then you crash. But if you've been an empathic leader, supporting, can be tough because you are demanding, but is really taking the best of each individual, giving the proper feedback and constructive feedback, nothing personal, but constructive feedback. It's amazing the capacity that they have to accelerate, to give their best when the circumstances are becoming tougher. And I must say that I'm extremely proud of the Unilever team, what they've showed during these COVID time, the level of resilience, the level of support that they've been giving from all factories worker when everybody was sent to work from home. Everybody came on board, work in the factories. We obviously organized all the safety, but there is a level of commitment, dedication for the companies, which is absolutely remarkable. So a big kudos to the entire team for that.
I also saw that you seem to put a lot of, which is in a way a little bit unusual, but you seem to put a lot of focus on creativity. So I don't know if that's because of your travels around the world and your risk taking, but you seem to want South Africans and Africans to really dive into their own creativity and be bold with it. Where does that come from?
I don't know if it's I've always liked to. Let's say that I'm a person. I'm obsessed by a bit by perfectionism. So always looking for doing better, bigger, bolder, with more ambition. So we are a very creative company. It's our role is really to recreate or create the what the consumer will be asking for tomorrow, getting close to them, understanding their needs, and understanding the tension points, and solving their issues. And so again, creating the product of tomorrow, but that creativity can comes from formulation as well, can comes from how do you create the right assets, which talking to the consumers, always being very honest and true to the consumer. But it's obviously in the FMCG industry, I think you have to be creative. The pace of change is so fast that if you are not creative and again, very quickly you become irrelevant, and the consumers don't buy your products anymore. And the creativity can be on all aspects, including the way you use a product, and from the packaging, from all aspects. And I'm really passionate about it.
So, I mean, looking at you're an expat, and what I'm seeing is a lot of certainly South Africans who are looking outside of South Africa as bigger opportunities. I mean, are you seeing, you've been to West Africa, you've seen Southern Africa, are you seeing, what are you seeing in the future of Africa? Are you seeing a dominance and a focus on Africa? Are you seeing opportunities? What's your sort of view in the future?
There is obviously a lot of opportunities. It's the skills level in South Africa is in Africa overall, obviously in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, is really very, very good. We are actually Unilever, we are expatriating a lot of South Africans. The big issue is very often they don't want to come back. So we have lots of South African in London, in the Netherlands, so it can be in Asia, and not necessarily everyone wants to go back. But again, there is an amazing talent. Very soon, Africa will represent 50% of the worldwide population. So it is clear that the opportunity are amazing, and the level of talent. What is clear as well, where I don't see so far the pace of change that you saw in Asia, when really, and you know, with my experience in the Philippines, it's true that the pace of change is faster, and I'm sure it's going to come in Africa. It's not there yet, and I often call out, we should not have any sense of entitlement, but really it's with hard work that's going to come, and success, promotions, climbing the ladder in the organization, that doesn't come just because I spent like 4 years in that role, so I'm due to a promotion. No, it's really by giving your best, giving results, and hard work that you achieve to climb the ladder. Honestly, it's in my career and from the start. So you know, Ralf, is as we discussed earlier, and explained that I don't necessarily come from a background having done the Oxford, Harvard, very, very far from that, the best school or MBA's university. I came from really a very, very middle BA in France, and so I knew that from the start I had a gap, and I had a gap to fill to be successful. And I've been really working maybe 2 times more than others, because it was not necessarily given to me, and I was not like in the short list of the future CEOs of the company. And really it pushed me, because I had certain level of ambition as well, but it pushed me really to work very hard. And that's a bit what needs to happen, and what's going to happen in Africa, and for African talent as well. It's to understand that you know, it's nothing is given for free, and we need to work hard, but the opportunities are tremendous. And while more and more economy, more and more industries will be looking at Africa and to come in Africa. They will need African talent, and they will need African talent not only for Africa, but they will need African talent for the headquarters, if it's the case of Unilever in London or in Rotterdam and so on, really at global level, understand the market with Africa. And that market is going to be absolutely massive in the future, once again, with 50% of the population worldwide is going to come from Africa.
For sure. And I mean, you obviously have learned to work hard and to get the most out of your time. Is there any habits that you think have helped you do that? I mean, are you one of those 5 a.m. guys that wake up early and exercise and meditate now?
Except for surfing. No, I'm not. Actually, I'm not a morning person, so I had to learn to be much more a morning person in South Africa. Here, it's amazing. Everybody starts very, very early, and it's not in the French culture. And I'm much more an evening person, and it's true that I can easily work until 10, 11 p.m. But not necessarily. Sometimes, obviously, I have to do it, but I'm not at my best at 6 a.m. unless if it's to be in the water.
A new pair. We'll catch you there.
Exactly.
It was super amazing to speak to you. I think that, one of the things that I've realized is that if I was young again and I could do it again, I would have certainly joined an organization like L'Oreal or Unilever, because I think what those organizations do.
Unilver, much better.
Unilever. Because I think for any entrepreneur, for any person in business, to have that opportunity to join an organization who's got that structure and that investment in people's development and learning is so important. And I've seen so many successful organizations where they've had that base to come from. So I think what you're doing is amazing, not just for South Africa, but for the talent of South Africa.
Ralf, I think it's and rightly so. It's an amazing organization, as I said earlier, where you can live every day your purpose. And sometimes my message is a bit loyalty is important, and it's part of my concern as well in that new generation where too often we see companies like Unilever and some others, but at the best university in the country where you come to spend 5 years and then you go and want to do something else. And I've been I've had 2 companies in my life so far in 30 years. And I think it's important, that sense of loyalty to build a career. I think the mix of experience, it's true sometimes of different industry, different companies. In my case, was different countries. But I think it's sometimes these employees needs to be a bit patient, trusting the organization, trusting the human resources, because at the end of the day, the key talent, we always spot them. The key talent, we always spot them, we groom them, we train them, we bet on them, and I think what makes a strong leader is the fact that you have different experiences in different roles. In my career, I never worked purely in marketing. I worked in sales, in marketing. Obviously, I had to be exposed in supply chain, in finance, and is that experience who makes you relevant to cover any sorts of topic every hour, because every hour of my day is going to be different, is different topics, and they ask for your opinion. So I will share my opinion, but I will listen to the expert, but I will share my opinion, and it's important to be relevant. So again, is that the time in the job, the experience over the years is very critical, and that sort of loyalty to the company is always pays off, I think.
For sure. And I mean, just the final point really, but one of the things I think is sorely needed in South Africa is a culture of sales and marketing. It seems to be that you guys have got that pretty well nailed. But it seems to be something that the East is very good at doing, is that culture of trading, selling, marketing. It's what we have to do is like really listening to what the customer wants and delivering on what they want, as opposed to possibly, I don't want to say pushing paper, because there's always a role for administration, but certainly a stronger role towards picking up the phone and speaking to customers and listening to sort of what they want. How do you find that?
I think it's interesting, but at the same time, I don't think it's only sales and marketing, because as I mentioned earlier, what is happening in the tech industry in South Africa is mind-blowing. The level of creativity, it's very, very interesting. I even I can mention that my brother-in-law, who has been very successful business in France and so on, had to develop a new product, a new tech product, and he had the entire world to look at that, and he signed a contract with a Cape Townian company, and being based in France. So it shows that really the Africa and South Africa in particular has a lot to offer from a manufacturing point of view, from a sales and marketing creativity. When you looked at these advertising creativity that does exist and coming from South Africa is amazing, and we are the same benchmark than worldwide. So we have nothing to be shy about, and at the contrary, we need to showcase a bit that great expertise, great creativity, great technology that does exist. And make it very visible to the world. I think the outsourcing industry, it's one which I think we need to overinvest in South Africa, because if not, so many jobs will move to Bangalore or to Manila, and it's not possible. And I'm really pushing hard that agenda within the company, and developing some call centers and shared service centers. Now that the cost of data is coming down, it's one of the industry which Africa and South Africa in particular has lots of opportunities.
For sure. We really appreciate your time, and we know that you're busy and looking after the rest of us South Africans, keeping us healthy and fed. So we're really grateful for your time. Congratulations again for all the amazing awards you're winning as an organization, and I hope to see you in the lineup soon in Durban or in St. Francis. I'll hunt you down.
I'm sure we're going to have less connectivity issue in front of a great Mev Kirsten wine, or one of these Cape Townian wines, for sure.
For sure.
Thank you for your time, Ralf, and I appreciate having me.
Okay, pleasure.
Take care.
Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.